Hello, everyone. Welcome to SuppTalk Radio. And in true SuppTalk fashion, this episode will be all about the new and upcoming companies. But people that I'm talking to today, they're not just the standard supplement company. They have a brand, they have a mission, they have an overall culture that they're trying to build. I am super excited to introduce both Tyrone Faverey and Julius Jackson of New History Supplements. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hello. How we doing?
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having us, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate it. So, Tyrone, I don't remember. Where are you again? You're on the East Coast, but where are you again?
So I'm in Washington, D.C. So like Northern Virginia. You know, it's just easier to say D.C.
And Julius, you're in the Caribbean, if I remember correctly, Virgin Islands?
St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. Yes, sir.
So we are transcending all the different continents, all the different heat and whatnot, and I love it.
That's it.
So Tyrone, let's start off here. I know the brand, if I remember correctly, is 4 years old, maybe, give or take 3.5, 4 years old.
Oh man, yeah. So we started in the midst of the pandemic. So we started around like July-ish. Became official around September of 2020. And as you remember, I mean, the pandemic was a wild time, Wild West, if you will, man. It was just so much going on. But we started out as an apparel, strictly apparel, and then sort of transitioned our way into supplements. And we started off as private label drop shipping and kind of did it the way that, some brands do, some brands don't. I saw the value in sort of learning the ins and outs of the industry as much as we possibly could without fully without the full investment of, inventory and so on and so forth. So it just, to me, seemed like a really good idea. And then we have another partner who's not on the call who he's more specialized in supplements a little bit. So he kind of led the charge. And then, we kind of went down the path, man, and, ended up here with New History. And this is as new as of April 1st, I believe, is when we launched. Yeah.
So was it a gamble kind of dropping something during COVID, knowing the gyms were closed and everything else?
I mean, if you don't risk it all, then what are you risking, right? So it's always a gamble. But absolutely. I think that for us, we didn't really know exactly what to expect as far as the reaction. We just knew that we had to do something. So this was also around the same time as George Floyd, right? So remember that whole incident happening and affecting the community tremendously. And we knew that, we had to support to some degree. We didn't know how, we didn't know what it was going to look like. But we knew fitness. Fitness is what we knew. Fitness is what we live by. So we wanted to kind of support in that way, knowing that, with COVID and the numbers being despairingly, unfortunately, catered more towards the African Americans being hit disproportionately. And a lot of that comes from just malnutrition, just not lack of education around health, fitness, food, what we're putting into our bodies, things of that nature. So we, kind of took that data and that information and decided to, kind of build a movement surrounding that piece.
Love it.
Alone, really, and building on it, and then we kind of landed on supplements.
And Julius, obviously, I did some diligence on you. You're a very successful boxer. Are you still boxing now, or is that a thing in the past?
Yeah, I'm still in. I haven't announced my retirement yet. So I'm still here. I also manage athletes and work with athletes as well. I manage a few fighters myself, so still in the sport for sure. Yes, sir.
And also you transitioned into a chef, obviously, because I did see your Instagram. And so what brought you to that path? I was telling Tyrone off air, it seems to be very common now. A lot of athletes now having like their second life. Obviously, a lot of football players transitioning into chefs. You might be the first boxer I see transitioning into a chef.
Yeah, I am definitely the only one. So I've actually been a chef or into food the whole time. The same year I graduated culinary school in 2008, I went to the Olympics for boxing in 2008. So I've always done both my whole life. I was number 5 in the world as a super middleweight. That same year I was featured on the Food Network as a chef. So I've always done both. Yeah, I've done both. I did an interview. Actually, Tyrone, when we met in New York, I did an interview that same week with Amazon Video when it was just coming on. And Amazon Video was planning to do like a boxing cooking show. And so they Googled. He said he went on Google and looked for a professional fighter who was, high class, top and also a chef, and I'm the only one that popped up. So he called me a unicorn. He said, "You're a unicorn." I was like, "All right, yeah." But yeah, I've done both careers my whole life, and so that's kind of how we met. And me and Tyrone met. My brand manager was working with one of his artists that he also dabbled in some music as well, and we met, and we both were at fitness, right? Fitness was our niche, and how much of our partners or our community don't understand fitness. They think it's just for people like an athlete, or it's just for someone who's performing at a high level. But it's not. It's really not. We all need to feel good all the time. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big for our mission, is knowing that every day we just need to choose to be fit and healthy. That's what we need to do.
So, Julius, was mom, dad, grandparents chefs as well? Did you pick up their trade secrets, or is this kind of you the first in the family?
No. My mom and dad cooked at home, but they weren't professional or anything like that. My dad was a fighter, so I got that from him for sure. My mom too. She fought in the street a lot. My mom's a fighter too. But food, just I don't know. I just knew that's what I wanted to do out of high school. I just love to eat, so I was like, I need to cook myself, and I was like, I can take this professional. So yeah.
So is it Caribbean flair, or is there something else, or you fusion, or like what's the specialties?
Yeah, it's Caribbean flair. So I grew up here, so I love the food that I grew up on. I'm classically trained though. I worked for Marriott for a few years. Went to school, so learned escoffier and all the other sauces and everything like that. So I blend the two. Yeah, I blend those two. Yeah.
Got it. And I know you started talking a little bit how you guys met again. It was in New York, you said, at an event.
Yeah, New York we met. Yeah, we knocked it off. We hit it off, man, and we've been friends ever since. That was, I think, 9 years ago. 9 years ago.
Was that 9 years ago?
Maybe more than that.
You might be right, man. It was. Remember, it was at the 40/40 Club in New York City.
40 Club in New York.
Yeah, and I think Odell Beckham Jr. walked in on us.
Yep,
New York Giants, right?
We were watching kickboxing. I think it was. Yeah. Nate Diaz? Was it Nate Diaz? I don't know, but I remember.
It was an MMA fight. Yeah, it was Nate Diaz. It was a big fight.
Yeah, it was a real big fight. Yeah, it was a match. Yeah, it was. But it was just cool to kind of have that experience, and you know what I mean. And then of course we hit it off. We're chatting it up, and we're just talking about stuff, and where things can go. But man, it was a special night.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years after that, or maybe 3. It was when we became partners in the business.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So Tyrone, what is your background? What led you into supplements? You an athlete or high school sports? What is your background?
Yeah, so not an Olympian, but but I did do so I did track and field and basketball in high school. I didn't realize how short I was until I didn't get recruited for basketball. So that
wait, what's short? What's short?
No, I'm only 5'11" and some change.
Okay.
But I have springs in my legs, so I had a 40+ inch vertical, so I was able to sort of translate that jumping ability into track and field. So I did a high jump, long jump, and triple jump in track and field.
Wow!
And then became a state champion in the state of Pennsylvania my junior year, and then picked up a college scholarship to the University of Connecticut for track and field and high jump, long jump, triple jump. Originally, they just wanted me for high jump, but then I don't know, I excelled sort of in practices and such. So picked up triple jump, picked up long jump. But then my freshman year, I actually hurt my fibula, cracked my fibula. It was a stress fracture. It snapped. And I was out my whole first year. So as a top recruit to UConn at that time, it was a devastating blow to the coaching staff and so on and so forth. But, after that year came back, I kind of wasn't exactly the same. I didn't excel in high jump as much as they would have hoped for. But triple jump I did excel in, and actually became a Big East champion in triple jump on my last meet in Villanova. Ended up winning the championship there. And then after college, man, let me tell you, if we're talking about living a healthy lifestyle, it wasn't anywhere near me at the time. Oh goodness, man, fast food, cakes. I was dating an Italian at the time, so she just loved to cook.
Oh man, game over. Carbs.
Let me tell you, man, I didn't know what a protein was, man. It was just all pasta. But it was so good, But it took a couple of years. We broke up, and then found my wife now, and it wasn't until I had my first son did I start to recognize the importance of health and nutrition. And you know, I credit one of my buddies who I ran track and field with. He's now a coach at University of Pennsylvania, and he got me there. He was like, "Bro, we got to get in the gym." I'm like, "What gym? Not you talking about like basketball gym, like LA Fitness gym, basketball court?" He's like, "Nah, man, we got to start lifting." Like, okay, all right. So you know, he got me into the game. You know, it was a rough start. Let me tell you. I mean, 135 pounds felt like I was lifting a house. You know, what I mean? On the bench, it was crazy how weak I turned, but it was a spark, man. It just, I think it was the full spectrum. It was, you know, looking at the birth of my son, looking at being able to provide for my family, looking at, you know, what health truly looks like from inside the gym, outside the gym, eating right. It was the full spectrum. It's just a bug that sort of bit me. And then he introduced me to the world of supplements, which I thought were steroids at the time. You know, I'm like, what are you taking? Like, because he was massive, right? So it's like, all right, you're obviously juicing. Like, there's no way you can get that juicing. So I just assumed he was. But he like opened my world up to like creatine, pre-workouts, BCAAs, the whole deal. And you know, the more that I was exposed to it, the more that I started to, you know, feel comfortable with it, started taking it myself, started seeing the effects of, you know, what just a BCA does.
Sure.
You know what I mean? How effective that can truly be in making sure your muscles are hydrated and your overall hydration of your body, make sure you have, you know, right nutrients in order to grow. And then, man, we set a contest actually. It was right before my wedding, and we challenged each other. So it was for my buddies in Connecticut at the time, and we challenged each other. We said, hey, we're going to go on a stretch over the summer. Whoever, and we picked teams, which team could lose the most amount of weight while also you know, shredding up and building up muscle. So whoever looks the best physically will win, and we'll sponsor a night out where we all go out and we pay for it. So it was a big deal because we were talking about bottle service at the casino. You know, we were going to run up the tab. You know, that was the idea. You know, but we went hard though. We went real hard, and then that's when I learned the value of supplementation. Because man, I tell you, those workouts that we did sometimes, there were days that I threw up. Literally outside after a leg day, just throwing up.
That's how you know it's a good day, man. If you throw up with your legs,
you got them legs pumping. You know what I mean? And it was a long time, you know, since I felt that. But the supplements, they really did get me through. The creatine. When I figured out that creatine was safe, what, dude? I went crazy. That's back when the loading phase was like a thing. You know, the 20 grams on and, you know, phasing on. So like, man, it was like, I felt like I discovered gold. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm going to be Hercules. Like, I've got to be the strongest person in the room and every room I walk in. You know what I mean? And I did. I lost a lot of weight, man. I got down to, you know, 195, lean, you know.
What did you start? I put you on the spot, brother. What did you start out at?
What you say?
What did you say, 210?
So I started out probably at like 220.
Okay, for a minute I couldn't have said 3 or 2, but okay, 2's manageable. All right.
Yeah, about 220. So I was at a high point. I was looking at old pictures, man. Let me tell you, I was like, man, I was mad at my wife actually because she let me walk around looking the way that I was looking. You know what I mean?
Because there's more you to love, man. There's more you to love.
But you ask her today, she's like, man, either way, like honestly, like I notice it, but I don't really notice it. Like either way, it's fine.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how I feel about her too. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't really matter. But like, still though, to me and like to us who are athletes who are, you know what it feels like to look in that mirror and just like love what you see, like it matters. You know?
Yeah.
So that's my fitness journey story. So
wait, did you win the contest or the other guys win the contest? Who won the contest?
Yeah, who won? I was waiting for that.
Left you guys hanging. So yes,
Be
so
honest.
it was me. So it was me and his name's Moose. So me and Moose, we won the contest. Yeah.
Okay. So
And it's funny because usually you hear it's the women that go on these crazy fad diets, want to look good for their wedding day, and a week later they're back to where they started. Not knocking it, because I don't think there's any woman that doesn't do that. But it's very rare that the guys do that. They're like, whatever. As long as I can fit my tux, I'm good to go.
Right. Right. But I was like, nah, I'm gonna look like a model. Morris Chestnut, you know, one of the models out there. That's exactly what I want Express to pick me up after this is all said and done. That was my mindset. You know what I mean? But that didn't happen. None of that happened, actually. In fact, I think I backslid a little bit. Because COVID.
And Julius, for you living in the Virgin Islands, the Virgin Islands,
Yes.
are supplements readily available, or is it kind of hard to come across supplements in general?
So it's there, but it's harder. It's more received as a specialty thing, right? It's
Okay.
more received as it's just for them, or for those for them who focus on that. It's not seen as a health, right? Something that's healthy. It's not seen as that. So here in the Caribbean, someone like me, they're like, yeah, of course he takes supplements because he's
Yep.
boxing on this world-class level. But even now, as I'm not getting ready for a fight, right? I have long days because I run a bakery during the day, and then I do private dinners at evening. In the nighttime, I take a pre-workout after my first job, like,
Okay.
and I keep myself going, and I make sure I hydrate, because I feel better. And the better I feel, the more work I can get done, the more things I get done. And
Yep.
that's the thing we want to spread to the masses. Is it's not just about that. We just don't eat the right things every day. We just don't have access financially to get the right things in our body every day. That's
Sure.
where supplementation comes in, and that's big. So in the islands, yeah, that it's seen as just people who are in the gym, or people who want to look fit, or who people, it's for them. It's not
Yep.
for everybody. And so that's the narrative we want to change.
So now in your neck of the woods, Julius, is the food, and I'm going to explain here, is the food less processed? Because I go to Barbados every 2 years, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't really, the difference is how much of a difference there is, but when I started going, I'd pick up a bag of just Oreos.
Yeah.
In Barbados, there'd be like 5 ingredients total, where
Yeah.
here in the US, there's probably
Different.
35 ingredients.
Yeah, we do have some things. I mean, we're here in St. Thomas, we're a part of the United States. So we have a lot of the same imports, but because we're in the Caribbean, we have a lot of other imports as well. And so,
Yep.
yeah, there are a lot of things that are made different because the regulations are different, right?
Okay.
So yeah, we do have a lot of things that are not as processed. We have a lot of farms locally. You can get meat, you can get chicken, you can get goat that are not, they haven't passed through anything, yeah. And so, yeah, we do have a lot of readily farms that are there and close. You can get produce, yeah.
So now you said you run a bakery. How do you keep yourself thin? Because I'm sure you probably want to taste test everything that's coming off the line.
Yeah, I have to. I gotta taste it, of course. But yeah, let's just, fitness is in our blood. It's in our life. We want to feel good. We want to look good. We want to perform well. And in order to do that, we just have to stay active. Moving, going to the beach. It doesn't even have to be exactly going to the gym and lifting, right?
Yep.
But just being able to run around with my son. My son is 7, and he's got the most energy in the world. So we'll go to the beach, we'll run. He just want to race up a hill, we'll race. Just staying active and just watching what I consume. Can't eat a brownie every day, even though
Yep.
sometimes it's staring at me and calling my name. I just can't eat one every day. So just staying conscious of that, and just being smart about it, and intentional, right? We got to be intentional.
So Tyrone, when you were building the company, did you already have the I'm going to call it the mission? I don't know if that's the right word. Did you have the mission already in mind, or was it we're going to create the company, whether it's supplements or whatever, and then kind of build a mission secondary, or like which was first, the chicken or the egg?
It was the mission. The mission was what I think drove the ship. When I was younger, even in high school, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's something that I've always felt like was in my DNA. But on top of that, I think I've always wanted to help people and create awareness around something, right? I didn't necessarily know what it was back then. But, now looking back, it's weird how like life does that to you, where it's like your today self is a reflection kind of your previous self to some degree. And I always said, even to my friend group back then, it was more or less like all that I really want to do is be able to support and help people. Like I've always wanted to do that to some degree. Didn't know what it was going to look like. And today I think, we found the opportunity to really find, a community that can really utilize some of the things, the expertise, the education that we have access to, and that we can continue to build a foundation and to grow upon. Because our mission right now, and as it will forever grow, is to really support the Black and brown communities from a health and fitness nutritional perspective.
Sure.
And And that's largely because, when you look at the communities altogether, you tend to find more people who will make excuses around why they're not eating healthy than actually just buckling down and doing it. So they'll look for the reasons. Oh, well, it's just too expensive. Oh, well, that doesn't taste good. Oh, well, I have a sweet tooth, so I can't. Oh, well, I need my blood sugar is low. So these are all excuses as to why you're not seeking the advice to go on the journey that's going to create a happier and healthier, more fit self, right? So I think that it's easy to just kind of come to these conclusions on your own, where that's exactly what we're trying to help people with, right? We're trying to help them recognize that they're in a position where they're just not on the journey, right? They know that they need to be on the journey. We're trying to walk them to the beach, so to speak. But at the same time, though, we also know how touchy of a subject it is, especially within our community, right?
Yes.
So, when you talk about soul food, when you talk about Caribbean food, when you talk about all different styles of food, you tend to find that it's a little bit more caloric, right? It's a little bit more carb based, it's a little bit more flavor forward, right? So it doesn't have a lot of those nutrients in it. But that's not to say that you can't make it with the nutrients in it. It's not to say that you can't make health forward, lobster based risotto, cauliflower. You know what I mean? Like it can be done, right? It's just, I think people, and historically, especially in the African American culture, for sure, it's just been more or less like we do what we do, and we are who we are, and this is just how it's done. Versus, how can we create a better version of it? How can we create a healthier lifestyle? How can we, do things better and do things that's gonna, enhance our future, create a better future for us, our kids, so on and so forth. So, man, that's just what it is. We're just trying to get people to think differently, man.
Yeah, and it's tough as because let's face it, the U.S. is messed up a little bit here, because if you look at, like, if you go to the supermarket, which is going to be cheaper, some ground beef or some chicken breast? Or if you go to fast food, you get a burger for $1.50, $1.99, chicken sandwich is $4.50. So it's like, if you're on a budget, you got to eat what's in the budget, but it's kind of hard to juggle that budget versus health.
And that's our main goal. Is to kind of get people thinking in that way and realizing that, right? Because our budgets can't really change. It'll change. That takes time, right? Our budget takes time to change. But the choices that we make during that time is where the important that is important. That's where the important lies, is making those choices that can work with the same budget. But we just can't get all the foods that are healthy, that are organic, that are the best for us, right? We just don't always have the budgets for that. And so we got to find ways to be creative and be able to, still be healthy and happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just as simple as understanding labels, like a 90-10 ground beef versus a 50-50 ground beef.
Yep. And that's a big part of it, a huge part of it, because and we talk about this a lot, it's nutritional education, right?
Yep.
So, people, and let me tell you, you go to any Whole Foods right now, you go to any grocery store right now, I guarantee you can find a healthy item that's not actually healthy for you, right?
Of course.
So it's dressed up. It's got the red dress on. You know what I mean? It's got the lipstick on. It's got the hair is straight. You know what I'm saying? But then, you
fake underneath.
You turn it around. You turn it around, and what we looking at here? You know what I mean?
What is that ingredient? Like, what's the name ingredient?
What? Right? Like, what chemical is this? Like, this is a forever toxin. Like, why is this in my food? You know what I mean? So then you start to question things, I think. But if you don't know what to look for, though, then all of that looks like hieroglyphs at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you have no idea what the macros should sort of say, and what the percentages should look like on a healthy item for wherever you are in your fitness journey, then you can't particularly fault them as much as you would fault sort of the manufacturer and the people that are trying to sort of deceive these individuals.
That's it. I'm sure you guys have heard for year in and year out, they say when you go to a supermarket, you stay on the outsides because that's the healthy stuff. You got the produce, generally the meat and the milk and the eggs, and you do that perfect square and stay away from the middle, because the middle is all that processed bologna.
A lot of process. Yeah. I gotta imagine, and I know that now. With the power of Instagram, TikTok, and so forth, social media. I mean, it's tough. They tell you not to eat anything, right? We're eating air at this point because everything's bad for you, right?
You can die of everything. Don't drink water because it's gonna kill you.
Yeah, even water, right? Even water's got microplastics that, you know what I mean? So it's like you gotta stay away from everything. Just starve at this point. but I think a lot of that's fear mongering, right? I think a lot of that is just people, looking for clickbait and just trying to see who they can, kind of rally to some degree. But I do also believe that, some of that could be, the product of large corporations, right? They have to meet people where they are, just like we do, right? So if you have products and they're coming out and they're not particularly healthy, then what are you going to do? You're going to bash the healthy food, make everybody feel like everything is bad. So let me just go back to the BS that I was eating before. You know what I mean? So I think there's a master plan. That's conspiracy theory talk. That's
conspiracy theory and fear. I call it fear mongering to a point.
Fear mongering, bro. Seriously, I think it's what it comes down to. It's just honestly, like when it comes down to all of that, I think what's important though is to kind of stick to your guns, right? Let's stick to the things that we know are going to be good for me, my body, my family. You know what I mean? And that's just looking out for, generally the things that we know are going to hurt us. So the refined over-processed carbs, ultra-processed meats, things like that. Like let's just go back to the basics. Whenever like we feel overwhelmed, go back to the basics. Go back to the meats. Go back to the the vegetables. Go back to the fruits. Go back to the things that we know that will have a positive effect on us.
That's it. So getting back to the brand. So what made you decide on a pre-workout? Just a popular category, or what did you decide on the pre-workout?
Well, so for us, a big factor behind all of it was elevating the mind as much as elevating the body.
Okay.
So there's a lot of history between all of the members in it's Revolutionary Fitness USA, but New History is the brand. Just to clarify that, but all of the founders, like we have a history with, nootropics and elevating the mind and doing things at a very high level. And it's very important, as we believe that if we're not, fortifying our mind and we're not feeding our mind and making sure that our mind is as strong as it can possibly be, then the body, it's secondary, right? You're not going to be able to lose weight if you can't lock in here first, right? You're not going to be able to, be a CrossFit warrior if you can't, lock in here. You just can't do it. You can't be an Olympic boxer if you don't lock in here. So you have to lock in your mind before you lock in anywhere else. So like, I just find it interesting that like people look at it as secondary. Why? Why is that? It's equally as important, if not more important. So like everything that we do, we want to make sure that we have some level of mind elevation, mind activation, and nutrients that support the brain health altogether in everything that we do. So that's why we dropped the new nootropic pre-workout, because we recognize that in the space, sports nutrition specifically, pre-workouts, that's the entry point. That's your way in. That's generally the key, right? And we're very fortunate. We have an advisor that we work with as well, who works with, at this point, a couple of different recognizable companies out there, and he's been helping to navigate us through some of these tricky waters when it comes to which product to drop, how to drop it, which sort of formulations, what it should look like, what's new, what's popping, like all of these different components that like people fall into the pit on, dosages, all of these things, right? He's gotten us in touch with, a lot of the big ingredient manufacturers that are on our label. He's got us in touch with those guys. He's got us in touch with, the good people over at NutriMedia, TK and those guys. Those guys are great. They help formulate the brand. They help formulate the label, whole deal. Without him, I mean, honestly, we would kind of be just Rev Subs 2.0. But we wanted to do something new. We want to do something targeted. We want to do something fresh that really stands out, I think, to the demographic we're looking to serve, but also that can go and build as a foundation to really go above and beyond and be a household name.
Your product's very, very well dosed. And the one thing that I personally like is not a lot of people use the citicoline. Or people are going, I don't know if it's a cost thing or the fact that they don't know as much about citicoline, but I've started going down the rabbit hole recently with that. And I love it. I'd love to see more in there, just because some studies are showing it can help decrease or eliminate. No, I should eliminate, because I'm not doctor. Parkinson's or memory disorder. As we get older, let's face it, the brain's not working the way it should. So any little bit more food like that, additives are great.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that really struck me. Just these guys, man. I mean, Cognizin is incredible. I mean, it's just in my opinion one of the more elite ingredients in general.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And what they've done, and I'm be honest, I recently learned this, is that their source isn't sourced from your traditional blueberries, eggs, meats, so on and so forth. They're from fermented plants, I believe.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, which plant-based, right? It's vegan friendly now, and it's something that people can't. It's undeniable, right? But citicoline, man, it just does such a good job of elevating, various different aspects of the brain, in my opinion. Your speed to thought, your clarity, your mental clarity, your cognitive performance and enhancement, your overall ability to put out, energy, work, all of it, productivity. It just does a really good job. And then we paired that with Cognit IQ and Cognitique, however you want to say it. I don't know who says it.
Same thing, tomato.
Right. But man, and let me tell you, it's just like supercharges the product, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And you throw oh my goodness, and you throw the taurine in there, then you throw in, the effective dosage of caffeine plus the estrogen. I mean, bro, it's just like it's built for mind-body elevation, which is exactly why we named it that.
So was it okay? So in today's very high stim caffeine world, was it hard to figure out what you wanted to do? Because you've got you're not high, you're not low, you're like a good midpoint between your multiple sources of caffeine. Was that like a hard thing to figure out? Like what mass do you want to go after?
Well, for us, we knew that we wanted to appeal more to the everyday person.
Okay.
We wanted a daily driver. That was the goal, to do something that can like elevate people daily, and really more or less, not necessarily in the gym, but outside the gym and beyond. So we wanted people to our ideal avatar was the person that goes to the gym in the morning, leaves the gym, goes to work, comes home, has the energy to still give the family the energy that they need in order to, continue to maintain that bond. So like what we find is that coffee wears off, right? I mean, 2 o'clock crash, everyone talks about it, right? Especially if you're working out in the morning. But what we're noticing with our product is that it does give you that extended sort of push through, if you will. You know what I mean? So you take it, 7 a.m., 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever, you're up and you're at them, you're getting through that tough workout, but you're still locked in. Like you're still focused.
Love it.
You know what I mean? And you're still pushing through your workday. And then you're finding yourself a little bit more productive throughout your workday and not necessarily crashing, because it doesn't make you crash. Like there's no crash at all.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's what I'm loving about the trend of pre-workouts these days, is that you're starting to see that people are looking for different energy sources these days. So it's not so much caffeine as much as it is like a full spectrum of different energy sources that really don't make you crash the way that these 500 milligram pre-workouts generally do.
But I feel like that's the way things are trending now more, that it's like one, I'll say, good lower dosed caffeine product versus like 4 or 5 to come out at the same time, that a 4, 5, 600 mgs of caffeine. And I don't get, because people, like you're saying, I haven't tried your product, but I can imagine it's very steady and it's almost like levels off a little bit.
Yeah.
Where these other stims, it's like you go straight up like a rocket and come right back down.
Yep. And then you're fighting. You're literally fighting for your life at 3 p.m. You're just like, hold on, just hold on. You know what I mean? But that's exactly it though. Like we're not trying to create something that's here today, gone tomorrow. We're trying to create something super foundational that people can really get behind. And honestly, something that you can take every day and get better. We're looking for progress here. We're not looking for something. We're not looking for a product. We're looking for a brand. We're looking for a foundational component that we can truly build off of and create better, and go in different directions. Because that's what's really cool about this product. It's 8 ingredients. So like a V2 of this could look, completely different than another a V2.1. You know what I mean? Like we can go in different directions to tackle different markets based on the data that we receive on the path that we're on. But like, I like the idea of being able to like really hit people where they are versus trying to get them to come down or come up or go left or go right. It's like, no. Like, are you looking to just better your life? All right, well, there, take it, take this. But what we are finding though, and I will say, and I'm sure that, the market's opening up for this. And I'm sure that a lot of brands are starting to, figure this out if they haven't already, is that a lot of people either are super sensitive to caffeine or undersensitive to caffeine, which is why you have your high stim and your non-stims. So we're seeing that it's kind of more or less people that are a little bit more sensitive to caffeine in our demographic. So, what we'll likely end up doing is doing a non-stim version or a low stim version of this, but with added benefits. So I'm thinking about, maybe Synactive in there. We're thinking about 3D pump. We're thinking about a couple of different other, drivers. Maybe there's a lot of different directions we can go in, but I definitely want to still build on the foundation that we have and make sure we're elevating people's minds and bodies.
Definitely. Julius, if I can, let me bring you back to the conversation. I feel like we've neglected you a little bit. So you're the baker. I'm sure you have a very well-defined palate. What is Dragonberry? What does it taste like? What is a combo of? Or if you could let us know the secret sauce.
Yeah. So you kind of think about a dragon fruit, right? It's more floral, has a more floral taste mixed with some berries. So you're going to think of the raspberry, the blueberry, but it's a mix of that. So it's not super tart or super strong. Really a balanced flavor. Anybody you see, we have a few guys trying it now on social media. You'll see them. They'll say it's such a balanced flavor. It really is for a wide demographic. So that's really our goal, is to be able to hit everybody, and people that sometimes don't like things too sweet or too tart. It's really, really even. And also the spike, right? It's really an even spike, as you said, you imagine it. You're like spot on. It really is just a balanced spike.
So is it hard coming up with a unique flavor like that? Because it's a gamble sometimes coming up with kind of unique flavors.
Yeah, it is. Be ready for it.
It is, right. It is, man. And it's so what's crazy is that and it's gonna sound wild, but our ingredient manufacturer, man, they sent it out to a flavor house, and we gave them our notes. We were like, listen, this is kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to taste like this is it. And they came back and they knocked it out of the park. They absolutely knocked it out of the park. So we're talking about V1. They knocked it out of the park of the flavoring.
Sure.
They knocked it out of the park. And we tinkered a bit with the formula, but I don't know how they did it. And I think it's because some of these ingredients are hard to flavor, at the end of the day, right? And they just did a really good job. eSense is the flavor house that did this, and we want to stick with them all the way through, man, because they're doing something different. I don't know what they're doing, but they nailed us. You know what I mean? They got our problem.
So you kind of mentioned a little bit V2. Is there a V2 in the works, or are you just talking generalities?
There could be.
Okay.
There could be something. So no, we're working on flavors right now. So when I say that this flavor house does a really good job, we're working on flavors actually with another provider right now, but I think we're gonna have to go right back over to these guys because they're just so incredible with what they're able to deliver. But we're thinking about V2 right now. We're still in the process of really getting the traction we need in order to start introducing new products. But we hope before. Well, I'm not going to give any timeline. I'm not going to give a timeline because I don't want to under deliver or over deliver. Like I just want just be ready. Just how about that? Be ready.
All right, so I'll put your feet to the fire here. Something this year. We got 6 months left in the year. Something this year.
Ooh, 6 months. You're right. We do. Man, this year's flying. Wow. It was just New Year's yesterday. What happened?
And it is flying for sure.
What do you do, Sean? You just sped the dial up, huh? That's cheating. You can't do that.
Well, here, listen. Think about it this though. I don't get down a negative path, but we talked about COVID earlier, and it's hard to believe it was 4 years ago already. We're at the height, and I know that over like 20 and 21 are almost a blur, but now it's like it's a blip in the past.
It's like, did it happen? Or did we just teleport? I think we just teleported. COVID, it knocked us out for 3 years, and then here we are with no masks on. It's crazy, when you think about it. But no, I do want to say it's looking likely before the end of this year.
Okay, fair enough. I can see that. I read between the lines a little bit. I got you. So Tyrone, we brought up earlier off air our friend Juan, my friend Juan from Gaines Express. I know you mentioned him earlier. He actually DM'd me because he knew you guys were coming on. He said he loved the design of the website. What inspired the artwork?
That's that's a great question. No,
Because I look at it and I feel like I'm from New York, so I get a little bit of Brooklyn, a little bit of kind of, you know.
well, there you go. So it's kind of a it's kind of a nod to kind of where it is at. The majority of us come from. Julius is an outlier. He's out there in the Caribbean. He's living in paradise every day, so it's not fair. But where the majority of us come from, and we come from Connecticut, is where most of us come from. I have family that's in New York. My parents grew up in New York, but I largely grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So it's kind of like that Northeast sort of feeling, but more or less the urban inspiration, man. It's just so here's how we came up with it. It was really sitting down and figuring out what aesthetically resonates with the urban community and our generation. Most importantly, and it was trying to figure out that line, that thread. What is that thread that if you look at this, you're going to be like, I get it. And what we decided to do was base it off of kind of like the Boondocks.
Boondock Saints, right?
No, not the Boondock Saints. So there's a cartoon, and it was called the Boondocks.
Okay, like an adult cartoon.
Yeah, it was an adult cartoon. So like, if you could probably just Google. You could probably just pull.
I recognize. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big hair, and then he's got the cornrows, and the grandpa. He's kind of crazy. Yeah, like it's like it's very relatable in terms of like urban life, like hood life. Honestly, like it's just really relatable in that sense. So like it grabbed a lot of people in a lot of different directions, and it spin it outwards. So like people in the suburbs, people in rural areas, and more affluent, like. Everybody like sort of gravitated towards this particular cartoon at that time. And I just knew instantly. I don't know, I was sitting down one day and it's like, you know what it is? Boondock. It just popped up in my head. I'm like, yo, this is the path that we got to go down. So, reached out to a couple of designers, reached out to some people and tried to figure it out. And more or less that's what we came up with, man. It was just like, yo, let's do something that like people can truly relate to and like a little nostalgic, but like also cool, trendy, and fun. And like that's how we wanted to like really brand ourselves too, is like being those guys that like, yo, when we walk in the room, we got the coolest gear on. When we walk in the room, people are like, yo, who are these guys? Like we wanted people to kind of like look at us as not necessarily trendsetters, but like people who are so in tune with what's going on that like implementing that into their brand and lifestyle. So like we want people to feel good. We want people to look good. So like ultimately, like the graphics, that's kind of what the thought process was. It's like, how can we like make people like feel comfortable right away? And like people who know it, they're like, oh. And people have said that to me. I've had vendors say that to me, like, yo, I was on your site and Boondocks, bro. I'm like, yeah.
All right.
I did.
So I love you guys because I mean, let's face it, there's 10, 20, 30 supplement companies opening every week. Okay. And a lot of them are taking, I don't know if it's right or wrong, the shotgun approach. There's no demographic. They don't know what audience they're going after. Mm-hmm. They're like, I'm just going to shoot it out and hopefully someone will buy. And I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse where people like yourselves you have a focus, you have a mission, you know what you want to target. And I tend to like that a little bit more versus people like, I don't know, I'm just going to put it out and whoever buys.
Right. Yeah. I find that you have to have some direction. And I think that's kind of the beauty of going down the path that we've gone down already, with the private label dropshipping brand and the apparel, because we recognize you can't go shotgun approach. Like you can't just say, we're here, walk through the door. Yeah. No one's going to look at you, right? There's no announcement. There's no pre-marketing. There's literally nothing. And you can't expect, to be a center of attention when no one knows who you are, right? So it's a matter of, kind of making that room a little bit smaller.
Definitely.
And then figuring out like, all right, so if I only have to entertain 5 people instead of 50. So like, let's entertain these 5, let them be ambassadors, let them grow, let them be evangelists and go out and spread the good word. And then now we're growing naturally, organically, and so on and so forth. So that's the plan, right? The plan is to really captivate our demographics so much that they're like, you don't know about this? Like, what are you doing? Like, these guys are fire. And that's what a couple of brands have done, right? So there's brands such as like Eastside Golf, who they're doing incredible work right now. You know what I mean? And I love talking about these guys because what they're doing is something that no one really thought could be done. bringing golf, the game of golf into like the hood. You know what I mean? Like it's just two polarizing thoughts, right? And who knew that there was such an appetite for the game of golf inside these communities? But also on top of it, it's like, how could this community afford to go and play golf on a regular basis? So it's not readily accessible. So when you look at like, the natural progression of things, like that community is going to gravitate towards sports that they can just go outside and do: basketball, football, baseball. They can just walk outside and do it, right? You can't really walk outside and play 18 holes. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a sort of setup. You have to have somebody in the membership, so on and so. Like there's a whole thing, right? But what they're doing though is they're like, nah, forget all that. We're just going to bring the culture to golf, and we're going to see what happens. And it hit, man. It hit left and right. People are picking it up. They're doing in sponsorships, endorsement deals with Mercedes-Benz. Massive deals with Jordan, of course, and apparel deals. And now I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're in airports.
Interesting.
Yeah, nationwide. They're in a few different airports where their brand, their apparel is there ready for purchase. So it's just they've done, I think, what it is that we're trying to achieve at a larger scale, where it's like we're trying to break down doors in supplementation. Because I mean, there's so many more avenues for supplementation that people aren't particularly exploring. You have basketball, you have football, you have sports, right? Sports in itself, sports nutrition. But how often do you find supplements in sports? Like it doesn't add up to me. It's like, all right, you have this demographic that needs it, but they're not using it. Why? We're not marketing towards them. Why? You know what I mean? Like, let's do it. Let's market towards these people.
Right. There's a split somewhere. And our goal. So similarly, you have people that are very focused on entrepreneurship, right? People who are like, you don't just have to punch a clock. There's people that try to spread that word and get people in a different mindset of thinking about how they do life, right? Because you could do a business and work at the same time. You can punch someone's clock and do a business. That business takes over, then you don't have to punch the clock no more, right? So there's people that are advocates for that and really push that, and especially in the urban community as well, right? Which I'm also part of. That kind of helping thinking. My bakery is part of a nonprofit, actually. So
great.
So this is our part is where it comes to fitness and nutrition and the things that we need to feel good and feel better. It's not just, of course, we got to watch how we eat. Of course, we got to, do all those things. But there's also ways where if we can't afford to buy organic every day, there are other ways we can supplement to feel good. And not just for the guys who are in the gym and pump in and want to look good. No, it's for us every day. Every day we want to feel good, to be better, right? To do better, to have fun and spend more time with our families and feel good doing it. And that's our connect that we're trying to make. That's the line that we're trying to blend to understand, like, hey, these two things work. These work. These are attainable. You can attain this. Even with the budget you have, even where you live, you can attain this. And that's what we want.
And so much to the point of creatine, right? Creatine. People look at creatine as a product that's, okay, well, if you're not in the gym and you're not working out every day, then creatine is not going to help you. But new studies show that that's not the case, right?
Mental health now, they're showing brain function. Yep.
Absolutely. So everybody really should be taking creatine on a daily basis because it can absolutely elevate your life, and that's, and I think, Julius' point, like that's exactly what we're trying to help people understand.
Yep. So Julius, when you're in, do you actually have an off season? I mean, when it comes to like eating and training, do you have an off season where you let stuff go a little bit, or do you kind of keep yourself straight all year round?
Yeah, no, for boxing. So boxing, there is no off season. So a fight can come up at any time. So it's important for a fighter because it's really is a lifestyle. If you let go too much or stop training and start eating how you want, your weight is going to go too high as well as your shape, right? So your stamina capacity is going to go way too low. And then next, the opportunity comes up for a fight. Then you got to rush to train. You got to push yourself extra hard to get the weight down and to get the stamina up. It's very important to stay at an even field and be intentional and disciplined. And so, there is no off season. Opportunity comes up, say, hey, we guys, fights come in. You should be at least in an area where you can be like, all right, time to get into training mode and do camp. We call it, about a month or 2 months of training camp.
Gotcha. So I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm going to use this as a sound bite. Let's talk
Yeah.
Logan Paul and Mike Tyson. What are your thoughts being a boxer?
Oh man, so Mike Tyson is a good friend of mine actually. Him and my dad fought in the same camp with Don King.
Really?
Yeah. So my dad used to knock out people. Mike used to knock people out. So their knockout records percentages were even at one time. My dad actually was higher at one time. If you
Wow.
look up my dad, Julian the Hawk Jackson, you'll see all his stuff.
Was he a heavyweight as well, Julius? Or what did he weigh at? Middleweight. Okay.
And so we used to go to camp in Ohio, where Mike Tyson would train. And I have pictures of Mike holding me as a kid and everything like that. Wow. And now that I'm managing fighters, we've been to a couple of fights with Mike. Tyrone, when we sponsored Gerald, we met Mike at that fight in Vegas. So he's good friend of mine.
Okay, so now he's a friend. I'm not going to put you on the spot then. This is a friend. I'm not going to put you on the spot.
Cool. And I got some guys that train with Jake. I met Jake, my cousin. I have a little cousin who's a bodyguard for Jake. Jake is cool too. Jake is good. He loves the sport. He hasn't been a fighter for a long time, but he wants to learn the sport. He trains with real fighters. Yeah. And so he's good. He's getting better and better every fight. Mike, though, is just natural. The last thing to go, they always say this, the last thing to go from a fighter is his power. So Mike definitely has his power. His reflexes might not be as great, or his speed might not be as great, but his power is still there. So I think it'll still be a great fight competitively. I saw that it got postponed. It got pushed back a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think if Jake is at a certain place mentally, he can do well. But if he's not in a good mental space, Mike is going to hurt him. Mike will hurt him. Even though they have these stipulations with I think they're trying to change it from an exhibition to a real fight. I've heard that.
Okay.
In the grapevine. But yeah, it's going to be entertaining regardless, though. Regardless, it's going to be entertaining. Sure.
Yeah, even I've seen videos, even at whatever he is, 57, 58, I've seen him hitting the bag, and you blink, and he's already got 50 shots into the bag. It's ridiculous.
That boy can hit that. He's just a natural beast like that, naturally.
Yeah.
Do you think, if you had to pick, do you think it'll go rounds, though? I'm not going to ask you for a winner, but do you think it's going to go rounds?
Like, yeah, I think it's supposed to be 5. I think it's a 5-round, 5 or 6 round fight.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll go rounds. I don't think Jake will be able to stop Mike. So if Jake wins, it'll be because it goes all rounds. But Mike could stop him. I would say 4 to 5, though. You know what I mean? Like 4 to 5.
Yeah. I wonder if it'd be a stamina game, though, where Jake just keeps moving and hopes to try to wear him out. But
yeah, he's going to have to move. I mean, Jake is not going to stand toe-to-toe. There's no way. Impossible.
No way. There's no way.
Impossible. He's gonna do that. It's just if he can't keep that up, it's boxing's a mental game. So mentally, if he can't keep that up, if then he's like, oh, I see an opening, or Mike's slowing down, but Mike really might not be slowing down, and then so it's all about if he's on point here, he should do all right. Yeah, but as soon as he lacks it, it's over. It's night.
I give Mike credit, though. Take out the fight, though. I feel like he's kind of reinvented himself outside of between the movies. He's on his thing with all different brands and whatnot. The guy's like almost reinvented himself.
Yeah, he's doing cannabis. He's doing business. He's everywhere. He's doing his thing. He's doing good.
Yeah. So Tyrone, as you wind down here, aside from possibly dropping another version, do you want to stay the pre-workout? Do you want to make your catalog more well-rounded? Like, where would you like to be in, let's say, a year or two?
Yeah, I think for us, it's very important that we don't continue down the same path that I think a lot of other companies are traveling down. So innovation is key. It's life or death for us. I think we have to innovate. We have to kind of push the envelope a little bit, especially inside the community, right? Because if our goal is to get people to eat healthier, then how do we do that? By meeting them where they are. If people are a little bit more, apprehensive around supplements in general, and it's like, all right, well, what else could we sneak? Can we sneak a pill inside the peanut butter? You know what I mean? Like, how do we do it? In a cool way that I think people can really, digest. And so there are a few things that we've thought about doing. Sorry, it's a package. I don't know if you can hear it. It might be some samples. We've thought about actually doing I'd hate to throw the idea. Well, you know what? I'll throw it out there, whatever. An idea around a sort of a greens, which I know that is super hot right now, but not necessarily like a proprietary greens powder or something along those lines. It's more or less a adaptogen based greens powder that kind of gives you the nutrients, but also focuses a lot on the gut portion. So like with gut health, gut elevation, but also mind elevation with some of the adaptogens and nootropics that we know can help elevate the mind, but also giving you the well-rounded body full-scale nutrient profile that people can take every single day. So they're not going to have to sort of split up and take sort of different products. It's kind of one product that they can take to elevate their mind, elevate their gut, make sure that their gut bacteria. So there may be probiotics in there, maybe some butyrine, maybe some more fiber. We're not exactly sure yet, but then also making sure that they're having the right nutrients for their body. Vitamin D, we know, affects the Black community specifically, so we want to be dosed there properly. We want to be dosed with immunity stuff. So it's a full spectrum idea. But I think it's more or less that type of approach is what's needed. Not necessarily a silver bullet, but I think we kind of want to focus in more on products that aren't that are more full perspective, full body. You know what I mean? I think that's the game.
If you really want to set the world on fire, is you drop the greens, but you make it transparent and it's not a blend.
Right.
That's a problem with a lot of greens. Is you see their proprietary blend, and I don't know sometimes if the manufacturers know like how many apples are in it, how many oranges are in it. But it's also the fact too that a lot of these people think, 7 grams. They're basing this really on taste. When you look at it and say it's 7 grams, tastes great, but are you really getting what you need out of 7 grams of a dose?
Right. It doesn't make any sense. It's sawdust at the end of the day, right? They're just taking all these things and just making it into powder. But like, I don't truly know if they even know like what the actual like percentages and dosages. They're just looking at the nutrient profile and they're saying, I think there's probably a banana or so in here.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's potassium. It's got to be a banana. You know what I mean? So like, it's just stuff like that. And I think being transparent and labeling it in a way that's super easy to understand, because that's where people fall short, right? I mean, we're just talking about it. Like when people look at, even our supplement profile, they'll look at our supplement profile back here. It's 8 ingredients, but they'll be like, what's a taurine? What's L-taurine? That looks like, something out of Star Wars. So like, they're not gonna do the homework to figure out what it is and what it can do for them. You know what I mean? And why should they, right? It's a product we're selling them. So like, maybe we should do a better job explaining what it does and how it can affect them. So that's the game.
So guys, it's truly been a pleasure. Is there anything maybe we haven't addressed, you want to let the listeners and the followers know about, or?
Julius, you got a fight coming up? You got something coming up?
Nah, no fights coming up. Well, maybe in DR, I'm taking one of my fighters July. We'll talk about that. But just guys, just follow us, follow our journey. We're creating a little new synergies, new energy, and new history is here, and we're planning to be here for a long time. So we're excited.
Yes, Julius, what's your Instagram if people want to follow you and learn more about you?
It's Julius the Chef 1 on Instagram. Just at Julius the Chef 1, and you can follow me there. And of course, our New History tag at New History SUPPS.
Perfect. And Tyrone, I don't know if you have a personal or again New History SUPPS or supplements.com.
Yeah, I'll give something from all my fans out there. So it's ty.fave, Fave, and that's me. That's my personal. And then at New History SUPPS for the business profile, and then TikTok, same deal. New History SUPPS.
Perfect.
And you can also find our merch on the site as well for all of you lovers of really cool, dope, trendy, fashion forward merchandise. I know it's hard to find really good stuff with other supplement brands, but that's a focus for us. If you don't look cool, then you don't feel cool.
Correct.
So
I love it. You guys are gonna be like the Jordans of supplement line.
I mean, we're not against a collab down the line. I don't know. I'm mad.
That's gonna be an expensive collab. Baby steps, my man.
Oh God, ridiculous. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. A man can dream.
Of course, of course. But guys, it's truly been a pleasure. Again, for all the listeners, thank you so much for following. Reach out to these guys. Put your eyes on the brand, on the website. Again, we talked a lot about the urban, the African American community, but again, product for everybody. Let's be honest here. Product, regardless of race, nationality, ethnicity. Great product for anybody to use. And again, thank you so much. Make sure you follow us at SuppTalk_radio on Instagram. Have a great day.
Thank you.